From a renewed fight over fluoride to the potential revival of an Edmonton gondola project, concern over election sign cleanup, and Albertans getting a big blast of the Aurora Borealis. Our Primetime This Week panel is in. And joining us this evening, Alex Boyd, Alberta-based national reporter for the Toronto Star, and Bob Sumner, former 30-year news veteran, now media and communications consultant. Good evening to you both. And let's begin with the contentious issue of fluoride. Calgarians may have voted in 2021 to reintroduce it into the water system, but 4 years later, debate over that decision has been reignited. That is because 2 weeks from now, UCP members will vote on Resolution 27, a policy to end the practice of community water fluoridation because it constitutes medical treatment without consent. And it's a policy push frustrating proponents.
The fact that it's efficacious is not contestable, and indeed we in Calgary contributed significantly to the data on the harms of removing fluoridation. Researchers at the University of Calgary showed conclusively that if you take it away, you harm children as well as everyone else.
Anti-fluoride groups, though, are currently in court and lobbying the province to take away the naturally occurring mineral, arguing, like some south of the border, that fluoride is dangerous.
Only about 205,000 Calgarians voted for water fluoridation in 2021, and about 130,000 voted against it. But right now, there's about 1.8 million people that are being fluoridated.
While the Smith government isn't bound by the AGM voting results, UCP resolutions have been a jumping-off point for future policy. Here's how it was addressed in the legislature.
We are continuing to work with municipalities who would like input into that decision-making. But, Mr. Speaker, it is a municipal decision at this point in time. And many dentists hope it stays that way.
It's proven to reduce cavity risk in communities that have it, across all ages, but especially in younger children. We really are acting in everyone's best interest.
The UCP AGM runs November 28th to 30th in Edmonton. Alex, surprised this would be coming up again, and this time in the form of policy at a UCP AGM.
I am not surprised. I mean, this is something that has come up repeatedly in Alberta, particularly in Calgary, who I think has debated it something like 8 times before recently decided to putting it back into the water. But I think it's worth looking at the fact that it's coming up at the UCP AGM and some of the other resolutions that are being proposed there. There's quite a few. I would put fluoride in that bucket. There's a proposal to get rid of mRNA vaccines. There's a proposal to get rid of lab-grown meat, which are not, I would say, political issues that have been coming up organically in Alberta, but rather things that are currently hot topics south of the border. So I think it's really obvious to see some of the influence of American debates, some of the controversies that are happening south of the border in some of the issues now that are being debated in Alberta. So, is this something that's been debated in Alberta? Sure, but I think it would be we'd be remiss to not acknowledge the fact that a lot of this is seemingly influenced by the American debate right now.
Bob, what do you see coming now of a reignited debate over fluoride? And is this something Calgarians are eager to re-engage in?
Well, I think we just voted on it recently, and the cost to implement it was $28 million. So I don't imagine there's a big appetite to spend all that money to take it out again. The annual cost is $1 million. So with our new council, it's supposed to be common sense. Let's see if it is. And as LaGrange said, it's a municipal decision, but we know how the UCP treats municipal decisions. So let's see what happens.
All right, for us, next up, the idea of building a gondola in Edmonton is back with a new city council and a call for ideas to repurpose the historic Rossdale power plant. The main proponent is hoping for another chance.
The dream is still very much alive. We would be able to basically modernize our business case very quickly. All of our partners, all of our international investors remain committed.
It's been about 7 years since a gondola from downtown to White Ave won a competition for big city building ideas, but council shelved the proposal 3 years ago, concerned over the level of consultation with Indigenous groups who consider the Rossdale Flats sacred land. The city, however, recently updated its approach for Indigenous involvement on the site, and Prairie Sky is prepared to work with the city again, despite some hard feelings from past rejection.
We want them to reach out to us, right? We've done the work any private, unsolicited proponent would. We've invested millions of dollars in this.
The new mayor of Edmonton says any proposal would need to demonstrate clear private sector viability and strong community support before it could be reconsidered. Bob, different council, different outcome. Where do you weigh in on the prospect of the Prairie Sky Gondola project taking flight again?
Well, it kind of reminds me of a monorail project on The Simpsons, but I won't go down that road. But it might be a good tourism destination. Imagine all the influencers in the wild on there taking photos and selfies as they go over the beautiful river valley. It looks like a great idea, but I don't know. It's a lot of money. What's the end of it? I don't know. What's the means to it? I don't get it. No.
Alex, what do you think would need to happen to make this a win-win project for all involved? And what would a gondola like this bring to the Alberta capital?
I mean, I'm as tickled as anyone by the idea of being able to soar over the North Saskatchewan in a gondola car. It seems cool, but I would put this in the bucket of seems cool. I have questions. I think there were a lot of questions raised at the time about the financial viability of this project, and Mayor Knack, of course, has raised that again. I mean, if the proposal that is coming back to the city is going to be dependent on public funding, I think that radically changes the conversation, because I mean, this is not far from the funicular, and I love the funicular. That's that little elevator thing that goes up the hill. It's down a lot of the time. There's been delays building LRTs. So should we take those struggles to the sky? I'm not sure. I think it becomes a different conversation if you can prove that the private sector is willing to build this and thinks it is viable for them to do so. But again, if their policy or if their plans require taxpayers getting on board with this financially, I think people are going to have a lot of questions.
Yes, a lot of questions to be answered. And there's also the issue of maybe concern over privacy, because it would pass over some residential areas as well. Okay, time for us to take a bit of a break. But when we come back, costly damage from an errant election sign and the Aurora Borealis cranked up to the max. More from our Primetime This Week panel in a moment. Welcome back. Civic elections in our province may be long over, but in some municipalities, candidate signs linger, as one Calgary motorist recently found out.
Right as I was passing the intersection, there must have been a gust of wind, and a loose sign just flew right up into the car right across me, and this caught me by surprise.
It also caught the front end of Yogesh Patel's vehicle, leaving costly damage.
Essentially, since it hit 3 panels, the estimate went up to a little over $6,000 from a company that deals with Tesla cars.
Calgary's temporary sign bylaw indicates the owner of the sign is responsible for damage, though Patel feels he was passed from one department to another with little in the way of answers. The city, meanwhile, says it had more than 1,000 election sign complaints over the last several months.
We are now receiving 311s about signs that haven't been cleaned up, so we're taking action on those. Our next step will be to review from a lessons learned perspective the entire process of election signs during the election period and before.
A spokesperson for the Calgary party says it removed more than 10,000 signs and posters in the 72-hour window following the election, adding, "We have no idea how one of our signs was missed, nor any idea how it could have been impacted by so much wind. We will work with the car owner to ensure a successful resolution to this unfortunate incident." Alex, fortunate this motorist had an in-car camera to maybe capture that errant sign striking his vehicle. What do you make of how all of this is playing out?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it would have been hard to prove otherwise, so very handy to have that, I guess. I know there was something like 1,000 complaints or something about signs. I'm not sure I'm totally convinced there's an epidemic of signs flying out and damaging things. This does seem as rough as it is for this gentleman. Sometimes things are just outliers and there isn't necessarily a regulatory response to everything. So unfortunate for him. I'm not totally sure there's something that we can do to prevent this in future, or whether that's a road we should go down. Maybe there's a larger conversation about whether we need campaign signs. I always personally wonder that, to what extent people actually look at these things when deciding who to vote for. But yeah, certainly rough for that guy.
Yeah, that is a good point, given how much happens online now. So maybe, Bob, from that lessons learned perspective, time for municipalities to crank up enforcement efforts following the 72-hour window post-election?
Yeah, well, maybe they should make it 48 hours, and maybe they could have a contest, and whoever gets all their signs down first gets their money back, or something like that. Maybe motivate them. But I'm really all about, I think an electronic sign would be a good answer. Because I think it's just like when you're driving up a boulevard and you see all these signs, it's like, oh my God, where's Farmer Jones' cars? But they're a blight on the landscape, but most people are responsible and take them down. And we live in a world of dash cams, so that guy's lucky I had one.
Yeah, indeed. That is quite the video. Okay, one more topic, and it's one that had a lot of Albertans looking skyward this week, catching sight of a unique Aurora Borealis.
These ones weren't really moving the same way, but a beautiful color. A little bit of green mixed in, but not too much movement. So pretty, though.
It was the result of the sun releasing 2 bursts of electrically charged particles, which then hit the Earth's magnetic field.
Heard all about it, saw so many pictures, and I went outside and there were none.
Oh boy. And for those who may not have seen the red in all its glory,
you look up there and you don't see anything. But a camera, the sensors on your camera are very sensitive to the broad spectrum of light, and they'll be able to pick up that red, which the human eye can't.
And now is the time to capture those images because the sun is at the peak of an 11-year solar cycle.
So in about 6 years' time, you may not see much of anything of the aurora, maybe a few nights here and there, but not as much as we see right now.
And while nice to look at, there is also a bit of a downside. The combination of electrically charged particles and the magnetic field can also wreak havoc on things like power grids, mobile phones, satellite transmissions, an unending list. Bob, did you catch sight of those unique northern lights this week? What do you make of all the buzz over the Aurora Borealis?
I did not see it, but I have a really good friend who's he's a great photographer and a bit of an Aurora nerd. Like, he gets taken up to the Yukon and everything. So I knew I wouldn't have to stay up late to see it. I could just tune in and check it out on Instagram and everything like that, because this guy is really committed to it. And it's beautiful to see. I used to see it when I was younger, but I think it's past my bedtime now. So.
Well, I have to say, Alex, the red this time around is really something, especially as it shows up in the pictures. So yet another reason to always have a camera, your phone at hand, ready to capture the aurora colors.
I guess it's kind of a double-edged sword, because it's always interesting. You go out and you're like, this is okay. I mean, it's still beautiful, but it's not maybe at its peak glory. And then you take a photo and it shows up so much more clearly. And so sometimes it feels like you're being catfished by the internet, because you see all these photos and you're like, oh, it's so brilliant. And then you go out and you're like, oh, this is not, maybe what I was promised. But it's interesting that this has taken such a hold on Instagram, and I was getting pictures from friends, and it was in my local Facebook community group. And so having phones everywhere, I think, has been great PR for the aurora. And we're just so lucky to live where we are and to be able to get outside and see it. So I think this is a good example of cameras and Instagram, motivating us all to get outside more.
Okay, we've left ourselves with enough time for maybe 15 seconds each for a winner or a loser. Alex, where do you bring to the table?
I'm going to say winner for sports fans and not sports fans this weekend, because it's Grey Cup, and then also those of us who will not be watching the Grey Cup can do other things, and it will be less busy.
There you go. Okay, Bob, take it home.
Okay, winners are all of us because of Alex's unique use of the word catfish on that last one. And losers are anyone that's not in the Grey Cup, but let's go. Canada really puts on a good show. So.
It always does. Okay, we'll leave it there. Great to see you both. Have an awesome weekend.
Thanks, Michael. Bye. Happy Grey Cup.
See you, Mike. Bye.